Okay, that's working. Oh, am I quiet this time? Oh, wait, that's desktop audio. Um, hmm. Is that better? Oop, I just ran over my cord again. Fuck my life. There you go. Awesome. Hey there, Aerith. How's things? So, as far as I can tell, we're about 3 seconds off. But that's why the clock's on the screen, because I was like, how can I track this in a more intelligent manner? You figure out that pedal thing yet? Okay, well, at least you're getting there, which is always nice. I still think it's stupid that they won't let you just Google it, because, like, as somebody who's done development like that before, you Google it. Like, the reason why I got my current job was literally telling my, or not my current job, my last job, was me telling my boss that, yeah, if I didn't know something, I'd Google it. He's like, good, that's exactly what you should be doing. Somebody else did the work for you. Hmm. I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss carbonated beer, but oh well. Yeah, they should at least have something that's similar that you could look up. Raggle fraggle. So as far as I can tell, Crazy Asteroid, the delay is about five. Well, right now 3.5 seconds. It's slowly getting bigger, so hopefully by the end of the stream it'll only be at like half a minute, and that'll be in like an hour or something. Though, I think the issue that I was running into is I was streaming at a constant bitrate of 6500, and enough on the screen wasn't moving. Like, because it's perfect for games, but enough on the screen wasn't moving, so that it was having to process all the time, and that was slowly increasing the wait time because it was slowly getting further and further from synced up. Because it's not like they could play the video faster than real time. So I went in and I changed CVR to variable bitrate, constant bitrate to variable bitrate, and that seems to be doing a lot better. Hey, hot man, it's been years. How have you been? Um, yes, I was looking at the moons on Mars. I was like, oh wait, Mars has moons? Ah, crap! I have to do something about that, don't I? I had no idea there were moons on Mars up until like 20 minutes ago. Also, Wikipedia's right. That one is deformed as hell. Though I do find it kind of funny that the black box cuts off so much. See, where is Mars? There is Mars. We want to set that on its own page. Moonka. I mean, we could always just have Phobos have ripped itself apart, and so that exposed the juicy inside of the core where all the heavy metals are and everything. So there's a massive some corp or something is has a massive like ditch mine in there where they're just literally boring a hole through the center of the moon all the way to the other side. Oh wow, they are really small. Like, wow, I was expecting at least like, 100 miles across, but yeah. I mean, honestly, like, instead of having, we could have one that ripped itself apart instead of make it a former mining colony that has, just turned into living space for like either Gallahorn on the or on Mars or something else. That makes a bit of sense, them just being, captured asteroids instead. Like that, it's like dot dot. Though you guys can't really tell because of the black box. But I can't touch the black box or it'll break everything, so I refuse. I've done this before. They also have weird apoaxises too. Though Deimos it looks pretty stable. I was like, wait, that can't say mom, could it? That purple one right there? Purple on black is real bad. One of them will be a colony, damn it. Or maybe, well, no, it's way too close to Mars to be a pirate base. That'd be crazy. Not really Mass Effect. It is, Iron Blooded Orphan, so it's kind of sci fi, but not too much. There's no faster than light travel or anything like that. So it's just centered around, well, the big hubs are Earth, Mars, and then Venus. There's a bunch of colonies around Earth. There's a couple around Mars, but Mars is like midway through terraforming and they just kind of abandoned it for reasons. And then Venus was completely abandoned for terraforming, so it's a corporate playground, and there's a bunch of people who pretend to be 17th century Australians there. Lasers don't exist. Yeah, kind of like BattleTech 2. It's kind of the Gundam equivalent of BattleTech. Originally, I was actually planning on using some BattleTech rules to make it better, but I'm mostly scrapping out the combat system on my own. I've talked to a couple of people about it, but yeah, it's kind of a modification of D&D and Cyberpunk to make combat. It should be pretty interesting, though. I hope, anyway. Yeah, lasers don't really exist in IBO. They kind of do, kind of don't. Like, they have their uses, but everything repels them, so there's no point in them. Though everyone and their brother wants to have a Gundam with a laser cannon on it. Yep. All right. Delay's not getting that bad. Oops. That is mystery box suggestions. That is something else entirely. I mean, the Japanese BattleTech would have to be Votoms. Like, it would just have to. Like, there's no series that's good enough at, almost killing the protagonist. Oh no, this is Crossfire's suggestions. Mine is this one. You guys can't see that one. See, I was smart. I scrolled all the way down before you guys could see anything. And the only thing on there that you guys could have saw, I took from the suggestion list because that's the only stuff at the bottom right now. But yeah, if you don't know, there's this thing called the mystery box where you could trade something like a sixth of your starting cash for that has the chance of anything from, like some fuzzy socks to a mobile suit and a bunch of other stuff in between, like night vision goggles, a grenade launcher, a uniform for Gallowhorn, who are basically, space cops. You can get an RPG. You can get a bottle of laxatives. Should be a lot of fun. There's nothing that's openly bad. There's some things that are openly memey, but that's about it. Like, you can get an I'm with stupid hat. You're paying the equivalent about $6,000 for an I'm with stupid hat. Yes. If you get something, you can trade it in for the cash value. So, like, say you get a grenade launcher, and that also gives you points in explosives, but you don't want it. You can trade it in for, like, 2 resource points or something like that, so you get some of your money back. Or if you get a mobile worker and you already have one, or you plan on buying a bigger one or a better one, you can trade it in for between 15 and 20, depending on which one you got. The fuzzy socks, though, nobody wants. You'll get like 4 credits. That's because they're very comfortable. Yep. Though if you trade in a mobile suit during creation, you kind of get screwed over because you don't get the full value. You get about half the value. If you want to keep the socks, you can keep the socks. The socks are nice and comfy, and you never know when they might be useful. When your little toesies get cold. But yeah, there's also stuff in there like a box of pineapple hand grenades, an assault rifle, and 90 rounds of ammunition. There's the I'm with stupid hat. There's a coffee mug. There's a bobblehead. Bobblehead's worth a lot. Hmm. There's a couple of other stuff. Like there's knockoff Captain Xeon merch that you can pick up. Misprinted shiny Charizard. Yes, definitely. You should get a Pokemon card. And then you find out that Disney owns Pokemon, and if you fight the Disney Corporation, you get fragged by a bunch of Goofies in mobile suits. They're piloting Goofies. They have heat swords and laser whips. They're a bunch of grazes shaped like Goufs that run around and heat sword people. Be a lot of fun. And then they have like handheld arm mounted machine guns. So it's like the Gouf's hand mounted machine gun, but it's like held on a metal frame or something, so it looks just really awkward. It'd be great. But don't worry, Bandai went out of business very early on in the Calamity War, so now everyone just rips off their properties because they're still shown on CBS and the other kids networks. But no one actually pays for the licenses; they just pirate the videos, and no one cares because no one cares. Yeah. See, if Mika got that, super nice speed bonus from those fuzzy socks, he wouldn't have that problem. He wouldn't have had that problem at the end. It'd been so nice. But no, he decided to get rid of his fuzzy socks in exchange for normal people socks, and we can't have that. Here is my volume mixer. Gonna lower that down to about 15. Gonna go a little bit lower on that. Because I can still hear them talking in Mandarin Chinese in the background. Oops. That was the wrong one. Just a bunch of other random stuff. Yeah, just a little bit of background music. Plus, that means I get to throw money at the guy's Patreon. Hey, Braxis, how's it going? I'm doing all right. I'm like super tired, but I'm having to change my schedule by 12 hours. So, I mean, it's annoying, but it is what it is. Fennec's Gundam only destroys all because it, for some reason, has magical fireballs. Which, if it had to fight the new, I'm pretty sure the magical fireballs wouldn't really affect it. But if you watch the G Reco special with the other Fennecs that's not powered by ghosts, it's not that powerful. But yes, now that we have gotten possible colony lasers and, forge colonies. So. Ah, dude, it's all cool. I don't keep track of such things. Yeah, I also played around with a couple of ideas for arms companies. Because these are all the ones that people mentioned in the random weapons doc that's been created. That was started 2 streams ago that we totally worked on. Completely last stream, yeah, we totally did. But yeah, I gave some of them names because it was fun. Well, see, an IBO version of the Fennecs would be just a Gundam. Like, it wouldn't be all that cool. Because none of its attacks matter and there's no new types in it, so. Yeah. I mean, honestly, probably the Banshee Norn would be the best one just because it has the giant fist, which could kind of be useful. But it would mainly just end up turning into yet another Barbie, and I'm trying to avoid doing that. Though there's not very many fighting styles you can get along with. Yeah, I did a bit of work on the Nomads. I started this like 3 weeks ago, and I've been going in and out since then. I've mostly created an origin story for them, but I haven't gone too far into it. I ignore about half of this. I wrote it one night when I was really, really tired and couldn't sleep. Hey, Alformo. Yeah, the revolver grenade launcher is a thing. I believe the Roiwi has it. That thing that Aze and Amida, not Amida, technically Amida too, but Aze and Laughter used. This thing has a revolving grenade launcher. So that will be a thing in the game. Just haven't got there yet. I thought the Norn had the shield, or the fist thing, didn't it? Yeah. So it was the normal one with the giant fist? It was the normal one with the giant fist. Yeah, it was this thing. Or no, that's the smart gun. As this giant like fist thing that punched people for raisins. Yeah. Yeah. I really liked the enemy mobile suits from T. I don't remember what they're called, but those are really cool. I'm also a big fan of Pantlauber and Zoids. Seriously, if there was a good translated Zoids game, I'd probably buy it and play it. But right now, I have all the Japanese ones, so. There's the I know there's one from Igloo that had a flamethrower, but I don't remember one from Double Zeta that did. Yeah, did you know they made 3 Zoids Assault games? I have the third one. The second one's like a 2D battle game. It's real weird. Then the third one's basically a redo of the first with a couple of extra suits. Which was cool. I do enjoy it. But, Er... That's the Origin version. Oh, it looks cool, but that's from EXS. Yeah, it wasn't this one, was it? I don't think that one had a grenade launcher, or a flamethrower. Was it the Dwattage? So I can't imagine any of the Spaceborne suits having flamethrowers. They kind of wouldn't work. No. Any of the Spaceborne ones wouldn't really work, so I don't think they would be it. Or is there a connection to the Reform here? Or the Dewattage Custom? Maybe? The Gundam X satellite cannon could not stop Axis. It's not actually that powerful. Axis is a little over 3 trillion tons of metal. You would probably have to have 20 or 30 satellite cannons to stop it, just because by the time you'd heat up the outer core to actually like stop it from moving, it would already be like way past you. The fact that Amuro did it is like the only way he could have done it was new type magic. There's no way he could have done it any other way. Even detonating the nukes inside the thing would just have broken it apart and killed more people. Yeah, the assault gun tank was one from Igloo, but I don't think it was that. I know that has one, though. He was saying from Zeta or Double Zeta. Yeah, it wasn't this thing, was it? Or probably in that form is when you saw it being used. Yeah, that one's always had a flamethrower. Yeah, it was real cool. In Liberation, the assault gun tank was real cool. I do like how they reused Igloo stuff in Liberation. Made, like, Igloo feel so much more real. Yeah, anyway, I should probably go back to talking about IBO. Desert Zaku. There's in UC there's two Desert Zakus. There's the Desert Zaku and then the Zaku Desert type, which I always get the two mixed up because the Desert type is the traditional one, whereas the Desert Zaku is the better one. But the Desert Zaku was made first, so it has the better name. Yeah, so I went a little bit into the backstory of Nomads, as I was saying before, kind of why they were created and what had caused their current tension with Gallahorn. I'm slowly expanding it out. But yeah, about here, all the way to the end, I was kind of writing at about 3 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. So it's very bad. And I thought about rewriting it today, but I didn't really have time because I had to drive back somewhere. Took friggin' 4 hours. It was annoying. Would it work about around phase shift? Yes. Would it be very effective? No. Just because, well, it would be great against phase shift once they ran out of armor, but while it was being powered, it'd be an issue. With variable phase shift, it would take longer, but you would just have to start using quick hits instead of heavy hits like they do in IBO, and eventually you would just tear it down, and then afterwards you would absolutely rip it apart because they were kind of banking on that armor, which made them not as sturdy because they're not as used to close range melee combat. Whereas most things in Seed wouldn't be able to damage the any of the Gundams or most mobile suits in IBO. Yeah, like how I'd see it is like, so either you'd have to wait it out with normal phase shift or with the variable phase shift. You'd just do a bunch kind of light quick attacks to waste power on the phase shift till they ran out of energy, and then you would literally rip their arms off from the sockets because they weren't designed to be torn apart. Whereas with IBO mobile suits, it's any beams you could get near it would be dispersed. Though, it's also the question whether you go with beam sabers create heat and thus would be able to burn through nanolaminate. Like, because nanolaminate has a stupid low boiling point for reasons. Or if you go with, well, it's a beam, so it'd get redirected. It's kind of whichever one you want to go with. I'm more of the, it would generate heat and thus melt off the armor because that's how energy transfer works. But it's really up to you. And nomads in this one are actually on kind of the Martian surface. There's the spaceborne, which are the spaceborne nomads. Those are people who stay in ships their whole life, and usually the only reason you leave your ship is either you got enslaved or the ship got destroyed while you were running away from getting enslaved. But that happens quite a lot. But yeah, how I have nomads starting in this world is, so after they had kind of cleared up Earth and they had been able to expand back out into space to fight the mobile armors in the colonies and go venture over to Venus to fight the real threat. Over on Mars, there were a bunch of dug-in mobile suits and mobile armors that they had to dig out. So instead of using mobile suits and losing a ton of them to do it, they brought a bunch of ground troops in, mostly people with tanks, who would literally blow up fortifications and just drill them out the hard way because it was honestly cheaper for them to do it than wasting their mobile suits when they were needed somewhere else. So they put millions of people onto Mars, and the casualties were so high they had to keep putting millions upon millions of people into Mars. Eventually, though, they did manage to force them out. But once about the time or after the war was over and it was all decided and everything, they were waiting for it to be redeployed, or they're waiting to get picked up by the ships and brought back home, back to Earth, back to Venus, back to the colonies, all that kind of stuff. And the ships never came. They were just kind of left there with a ton of weapons and, supply caches to last 100 years. And they were just left there and abandoned. Literally, help never comes. So they do what best they can. They head back. Some rejoin civilization. Others who are so disgusted with what the higher ups had done, they leave into the desert where they know they can't be tracked and disappear till about 100 years later, when people start rebuilding the infrastructure around. Once they start rebuilding infrastructure around the area, wow, what the hell? For some reason, everyone's coming up as zeros and ones. Um, yeah, so weird. But yeah, some of them retreat off into the desert, which about 100 or so years later, you start getting the infrastructure being rebuilt because they've already started on Earth, and people are starting to spread out, and Gallahorn and the blocks are starting to spread out money to get everything rebuilt on Mars and in the colonies and everything, so they can start making even more money again. Because they've already had this giant cut up, and they divided everything in the galaxy or everything in the system between 4 blocks and Gallahorn. So the people who went off into the desert, suddenly the stuff that they've kind of developed a tribalistic cult because somebody wanted them to be vaguely Native American, so it happened. And they started developing kind of a tribalistic cult around these kind of things, and old battle sites and stuff like that they start to see as sacred. So because they're sacred, these people are coming in and blowing it up. So as far as they know, there's literally sleeping gods there, evil gods who are going to kill them all. You can probably guess what those are. And so they try to stop them, and the work crews have hired people to protect them. And those people end up shooting at the people trying to stop them from doing their jobs. And this turns into a giant tribal war that lasts about 100 years, up until the very, very end of the war. Once a year they get together, well, 4 times a year at this point, they get together and have kind of a tribal meeting where everyone they kind of have a tribal meeting where everyone gets together and forms up to discuss things, and they're planning this big assault against a Gallahorn base, and it was going to be devastating and everything. It was going to show them that they're going to win the war. And like everyone gets up in the morning, starts getting ready, the raid starts preparing, and suddenly it explodes. Just the entire area is covered in dirt and dust. No one knows what's going on, except for their entire military force that had all assembled is just dead. All the material that was there is blown and thrown as far as they could. Everyone who was anywhere nearby is literally vaporized. There's nothing left. A good portion of the tribal population at the time is gone just in an instant. And so they kind of realize that the war isn't going to go anywhere because God just told them that no, this is a bad idea. Like a really bad idea. So they, instead of making peace, they just kind of fade back into the desert, biding their time, building up their military power again to try it out, or to restart the war. And then, the terraforming of Mars starts to actually happen again. The ice caps start to melt, their tribal lands start to get flooded, and the world starts to change. Earthquakes and stuff happen more frequently, and their main source of food, supplies, and all that kind of stuff either gets submerged in water, or the few oases where they can grow food and stuff slowly either start to sink or dry up because the water reserves are being shifted around, and then the core of the planet's starting to warm up. So it's making certain oases like bubble up and dry out. Yeah, Code Vein is the anime of Dark Souls. I know a lot of people had a lot of fun with it, but I've heard it's really short. I haven't got around to playing it though because it's like $60 and I can't afford that at this moment. As far as any Jupiter colonies, we're actually going to be talking about that a little bit later. That's what Teiwaz is. There's quite a few Jupiter colonies, in fact. Like at least 9, probably more that we'll get to. But yeah, if you know IBO, you might be able to guess what had happened to everyone. Or you might not. That's fun too. If you know, you know. If you don't. But yeah, so the tribal or the nomad tribes are kind of in a state of tension with Gallahorn and everyone else at this point because, well, they had prepared for this big war and then it just ended. So the young people who just watched their families die are now kind of coming of age and then they're having kids and their kids are raised with this idea that, God might have said it was a bad thing, but they still hate us. And you're starting to get to a World War II kind of situation without the like nice lead up where it worked out for everyone and then everything starts to fall apart and a lot of tribals or a lot of nomads are starting to have to move to the cities to make money to send their money back home so that they can live. Very similar to how Indian reservations are working these days, which is also kind of wrecking the nomadic culture because a lot of what they need is word of mouth and not really written down. So it's kind of getting lost when all their young people are going off to civilization to work and all this new stuff is getting sent back into town and corrupting the youth. It should be interesting to see how that turns out. But yeah, that was mostly what I'm working on. I'm kind of trying to figure out how to position tribal positions and then clan outlines, that kind of stuff. I did some work on it, but it's not very good, so I'm gonna have to redo it. And then I'm probably gonna have to. I was also starting on clan meets and everything. Way back in the day, it happened about 4 times a year. Now it only happens once a year because they're afraid of God striking everyone down again. Yeah, I was also talking on the Discord a little bit ago, 2 or 3 days, like Teiwaz. So we at least know from the show that there's like 9 or so companies, not counting Tekadon and the Turbines and JPT Trust, the people who happened in the show. There's like 9 or so other companies. Like one's called Ganymede Farms. It's like great, Ganymede. Yeah, that makes sense. And then there's Europa, which Europa's a ice planet, mostly ammonia ice though. So there should be a ton of water, hopefully, or not. But yeah, they produce a lot of the water for the outer sphere and that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know why Gujin would need to transform. I think its gimmick is kind of it has 4 arms, so it can shoot all the things at a distance. It doesn't have to worry about things coming around it. I think if it transformed, it would just kind of weaken itself. Like Floros can transform, but Floros is just kind of pointless and weird. Oh, wait. Yes, Frogman Gujin is best Gujin. But they're all technically Gujin, thank you. I think it would be kind of funny if it was the Gujin was a Virtue Nodley kind of situation. Where it's like you start fighting, you knock away the armor plates, and then suddenly the real Gundam just pops out and stabs you in the face. I think that would be funny. Yeah, like Teiwaz also has corporations called Nicholas or Nicolas or 4S Phalanx and EO. Though I had the synthetics part. It's like, what do these places even mean? EO is kind of it's a sulfurous planet. And so they produce a lot of materials and sometimes medicine and other stuff there. But yeah, like EOS, whatever that means, Forest Phalanx, like Ganymede Farms, you can figure out. The turbines we know about. The fuck is Copernicus? Well, I know what Copernicus is. Nikolai Copernicus. No, that's someone else. But yeah, he was an astronomer. Nicolas, JPT Trust. And then Callisto. Callisto's one of the moons of Jupiter. So it may or may not be metal heavy. It's also covered in about 9 feet of what we think is liquid water, though it could be something else. So Callisto is mainly about mining. Euro Electronics makes literally everything, including the EO and Sheetin frames. Though you'd think EOS made those, but they don't. It's weird. Yeah, so that was kind of the issue I was running into. It's like, first I have to figure out what makes them up, and then once we figure that one out, I can build it out from there. But yeah, Floros was almost exclusively for the dance life, but I can't see a point in the transformation. It's like, hey, you're fighting this fast-moving enemy. Why don't you just, like, slap your arms into the ground and stitch yourself strongly into the ground so you can't move while it's shooting at you? Or, you're getting overwhelmed by plumas. Though, at least in my version, if you encounter... Depending on the mobile armors you encounter, you can even have plumas that are like little helicopters, or even fish pluma. Those should be fun. Yeah, so people wanted 4S to also be a private military company, so they do the smaller jobs like personal security, defending malls, that kind of stuff, basically rent-a-cops. They also do the salvage for the reactors and stuff for Euro Electronics. So yeah, those are fun. We had the turbines. Honestly, if I ever run a game, I'm just gonna ignore them. I don't like including stuff from the show in the game if I can avoid it. Though I am letting people, if they want to, grab Gundams from the show. They either lost them before the show had happened, or it's an alternate universe. Whatever. It can be what it wants to be. I'm not too picky one way or the other. Like if someone wants Floros or Gujin, like they'll have to find it, but they can get it. Or go raid CGS to try to find the Barbie, only to find it's not actually there. It's 10 miles away in a power plant because reasons. Though they have cables running all the way down through it. And then eventually someone will go down those tunnels and find that there's a freaking half assembled Gundam sitting there for some reason, and then they'll bring it back and use it as a power generator. Yes, Dozo Zaku. It is blinged. It is also kind of garbage because it can only melee, and thus you get killed in range, because I have no luck in melee, like ever. Blitzkrieg, you should have saw it before. All of chat was coming through as zeros and ones. It was very interesting. You can try popping out chat. I usually do that because it works better for me. It'll reload the chat window. Yeah, so I kind of avoided them. I'm also gonna avoid JPT Trust. Like you guys, the players might encounter them, but they'll just kind of be assholes to the players. Not much to it. Like they do shipping, they have private military forces, they rob people, they do a lot of extortion, they kidnap them, sell them into slavery, that kind of stuff. And then weirdly enough, the turbines go around and buy them to free them. Yeah. It's kind of backwards and turned around, but I mean, when dealing with someone like Jansly, you have to figure out some way to get back at him. Then they have Copernicus, which is, they build basically satellites, telescopes, that kind of junk for deep space exploration. They're also trying to develop independent, like, platforms or space stations, so people could theoretically have a way station between us and Alpha Centauri or something like that. Yeah, Tal, if you wanted to do that, you could. It would be very difficult because he's on Sai most of the time. Unless, he gets tricked out somehow. And good luck assaulting Sai. Sai being the or the planetary cruiser that Teiwaz runs that has literally 1,000 mobile suits on it and an entire fleet defending it. Or you can try sneaking in there and, shooting him while he's on the toilet. That might work. If you could plan that out, I'd totally let you do it. That'd be amazing. I'm telling you, just have her kicked out of the window of a car and just kind of show up in the middle of the street like, oh, well, fuck. Todd, the problem with that is there's nowhere to have a well placed sniper. Like you couldn't get effective range unless you had him like down Main Street, and I doubt they have very tall buildings with overlooks uh that they would let you do anything like that. You have to be a good to get a good shot with a sniper rifle. You have to be at least 22 yards away, because the bullet won't engage by then, and it'll just stick in them. It won't actually go through them. That's the biggest problem. So you usually want to pick up a spot that's about maybe 500 meters to 350. You don't want to go much farther than that because both they'll see you and you'll probably miss. There's like a 72% chance you'll hit versus the 100% chance. Plus, the further away, the easier you are to actually get detected. The closer you can get to the enemy guards is actually the less they'll look. If you sit up on mountains above a target base, they'll look up at the side of the mountain and not look what's on the mountain. I use that really well, but can't talk about that one for like 8 more years. But yeah, so you want to get pretty far away, but because it's a spaceship, I doubt they would allow spaces for that kind of stuff. So you would have to like shoot him from the other side of a door, and that's just asking for problems. It's not a colony, it's a spaceship. But yeah, it's a lot harder to take a sniper shot than, video games and stuff make it look out. Like, it takes time, and if you're not willing to sit up on a mountain for 3.5 days waiting to get a shot while you're taking a shit in a hole that's not like that's about 5 meters away from you, while your spotter is laughing at you because you keep complaining it smells like shit, like you're not gonna get a good shot. Yeah, and then you have your Euro Electronics, which may or may not be on Europa, but I don't care. Damn it, they make water too. Dang it. But yeah, literally like everything is made by them. Like if we go to the Rio or the Hyakurin, you see the oh, they don't show it here, but you see this EE designation? That means Europe Electronics. I don't remember what the J means. It means something. It's on the Kuton. I think they explain it. Oh no, they just say where the EE is. But the JEE means it's made by Euro. Or Euro, I should call it. And like if we go to the Hyakurin, they make the rifle, they make the blades, they make the knuckle guards, they make the grenade launchers, they make the revolving grenade launcher. They also make the suit itself. It's crazy. I mean, they even make everything on the Shiden. Oh, they don't give designations besides the rifle. Yeah, so they make everything from toasters to mobile suits. The easiest thing to the hardest thing. Then we have Callisto, which Callisto's just like it's one of the moons of Jupiter. Yeah, there's lots of ammonia ice, some other stuff, silica and iron, all the normal junk. So they have some half metal there. They have other heavy machinery. They also help build like habitats and colonies and stuff for Teiwaz. So, the livable colonies that they're building on Callisto, on Ganymede, all that kind of stuff, they help build those. And they make really good money out of it. They're trying to break into the intersphere, but Gallahorn is putting up blocks and kind of preventing them from moving in because the company that does that on the Earth is kind of run by one of the Gallahorn families. So they're using their political power to prevent it. Kind of sad. Yes, in this world, corporations are an issue. You could have Amazon death squads. I wasn't joking earlier when I was talking about Disney death squads. Like, that can happen too. Uh, yeah, we were just kind of making up jokes last time, but like, yeah, there's Sleipnir who are evil Gallahorn. There's a production company that literally just wages fake battles for TV. And by fake, they're completely real. People die. But they make tons of money, so it's fine. And then there's an energy drink company that may or may not be using people. Oh yeah, the Montag company is definitely smugglers. Like legitimately, but the thing is they're kind of a shelf company, so I don't know if they would actually, while they might have functioning functions as smugglers, I don't know if they were called Montag before McGillis got there or not. Yeah, because we know it's a shelf company and it was just kind of created and then had sat there for years and years. So maybe it was a legitimate thing at one point and just kind of went away. But my theory is that it was made like, in 123 or whatever, and just sat there paying its taxes for 150 years till it was actually being used by the Freed family after McGillis found it at some point. Yeah, it was always called the Montag Corporation. Or company. Is it run by someone named Montag or something like that, I think? Yeah, it's Montag Company. Yeah, it was established by Clive Montag. Yeah, so their operations have slowly expanded, but they always have a fixed amount of workers. Mm-hmm. Yep, clearly. Well, Clive Montag lived like 200 years before. So unless McGillis is a lot older. Yeah, maybe McGillis was originally a Montag. Though that wouldn't explain where he went. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a shelf company, but that's just me. Oh, apparently they helped RJ too. That's funny. Or RG, depending on what you want it to be called. But yeah, my theory is it's always been a shelf company, just a company that sits there, pays its taxes, and nothing really goes on, till it's needed for some use, and then it's used and then thrown away. It's very common even today. Like I know a guy who actually makes side money buying domain names, creating corporations under those domain names, and then waiting till they get popular and selling them off to people. He's made like 100 grand doing it. It's kind of crazy. And he works at a IT company for the shits and giggles. Well, the thing with the Kuton is it's literally just for sending out cargo and everything, so you can just mount anything you want to it. Yeah, there's nothing actually impressive about it. It's just you stick something to it and you can send it out. Like, it just has hooks. Theoretically, you could send like a roadie on it or a graze on it or whatever you wanted. Like, according to this, like they usually just send it for like they stick it on cargo modules and send it into deep space. My theory on this is quick assaults for mobile suits on, say, undefended cargo ships. Yeah, I don't think they would use an AI core on one of these things. Especially because, there's literally 3 pilots to it. Though, apparently one person can pilot it, which is pretty cool. My personal theory on this is the Kutan gets you rig up a couple of like roadies or something onto the Kutans when you detect an enemy, and then you send them off to go and get behind the enemy ship while you move your ship and the rest of your guys in front, and you surround them before they can run away. So you can take their cargo and, possibly enslave their passengers and that kind of stuff. It's not really GN arms. It's literally just a booster, though you can mount cannons on it. Sorry, that was getting way too intense for more than it needed to be. If anything, I'd say it's a more powerful core booster. Like, the GN arms is actually designed to be a weapon versus this, which is just to go fast. Okay, yeah, for some reason I thought it said it had nano laminate, but it was saying it can't do much damage to nano laminate. But yeah, it just has the smooth bore guns, which for the most part can be taken off, so. They have places to go. They have to follow their rainbows. I hated that truck stage, but like it always impresses me in speedruns when people do it backwards and they know what's going on. But I know it's because they played like thousands upon thousands of hours to get to that stage. But still impressive. But yeah, and then there's Ganymede Farms, which just run a bunch of both orbital and on-planet colonies and grow all kinds of food. And this is where 99.9% of the world's or the system's botanists are employed because they're illegal in Gallahorn-controlled space. If you know anything about growing anything but corn on Mars, they ship you off and send you to camps where you're never seen again. They can't have people who know how to farm. That's ridiculous. They'll try to grow melons, which I honestly don't know why those melons weren't growing, unless they weren't feeding the soil, which they don't know what fertilizer is. They're dumb. If they're trying to grow like pumpkins or watermelons, I'd kind of understand, but those are just melons. They grow almost anywhere as long as they have flat ground and it's not too cold. I doubt it freezes over on Mars. That'd be weird. Yes, the R1 is the prototype high-speed Zaku. Though by prototype, it really just gets improved later. Oh no, they only grow corn on Mars. They don't grow potatoes either. I mean, they found a place where potatoes won't grow. It's crazy. I know my potatoes. Yes, corn liquor, corn fuel. They have so much good. They have such good fuel you can drink it. Yeah, they only know about corn on Mars. All they eat is corn for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They eat corn pops for breakfast, grilled corn for lunch, and then corn steaks for dinner. It's very nasty. Then we have Europa, which a water company on Europa that will be named in the future that brings everyone water and, mostly supplies the farms with their water. Though a lot of it's cycled through, so what's not broken up is recycled and reused to grow better plants. But they can't make cornbread. They don't have flour. They only have corn. You can make corn flatbread with corn flour, but you can't make normal cornbread without wheat flour. Unless they grow giant corns in the shape of bread. Yeah. Then there's the asteroid belts that are in between Jupiter and, the rest of the world. Basically, it's where Gallahorn's base ends, and then Teiwaz's power begins. And the area in between is kind of a lawless area, because Teiwaz doesn't really patrol it because they have no reason to. And then Gallahorn doesn't care. They have a giant base there, but no one knows why it's there. No, they never leave. They just get shipments every once in a while. And if anyone tries to fuck with their shipments, they'll murder you. They couldn't continue Dragon R, if I remember correctly. Like, the original guy got sick or something like that, and they just stopped. It was like on episode 6 or something. I don't know if Ryamo's here, but he can tell you all about it. Or if you're on the Discord, you can ask him. He likes talking about that kind of stuff, but it just kind of ended after like episode 6 or something like that. Well, you see, everyone else doesn't look like Biscuit because they're all routinely starved. Seriously, though, I don't know how Akihiro maintains that build. Or they might eat people. That's possible, too. They're eating meat, and we don't see any farm animals, so they might be eating people. Yeah, so it's kind of the Wild West of the asteroid belt, and back during the Calamity War, there was an absolute ton of combat around the area. So there's certain areas of the asteroid belt that are so torn up, and because of the leftover Ahab reactors and destroyed metal and everything, creating kind of fields. You get stuff like in the show and then in movies where all the asteroids are all close by. That totally does not work like that in real life at all. But then also you get places where like you're passing through the belt and you don't see any rocks for 100 kilometers. Though in space that's nothing. Yeah, who knows? They could be eating Soylent. But yeah, so, anywhere you're DM, or if you're DMing anywhere where you want it to be, it can be in this area. There's also, pirates who are finding old colonies and building their own personal bases, or just flat out capturing people and forcing them to build them bases. And it kind of doesn't turn out very well. There's a big major one on series that I was making up before that has, hundreds of roadies, and they're just enslaving tons of people, making them mine out the entirety of the planet to package up and sell back in the intersphere to support their backers. So, weirdly enough, if you were to live on Mars and try to exercise, you'd actually have to exercise for longer with heavier weights because the weight out there is a lot lighter. So you wouldn't actually get stronger. It'd be harder to get stronger when you're out on Mars. Yeah, so the asteroid belt will be mainly where the pirates live and where at least their main bases are anyway. There'll be pirates everywhere if they want to be, or never, or nowhere. The only place there won't really be pirates is the inner spheres in between the colonies and Earth. Because the Arianhod fleet and then the Inter-Earth Regulatory Fleet patrol that like a son of a bitch, and Arianhod fleet has a reaction time of like an hour, which is crazy in space. So, yeah, don't make issues around Earth if you can avoid it. Or, if you're lucky, you can go and run into Carta's people who are so untrained that it's funny. Just for the record, I think it's like 8 times gravity and your spine snaps in half. 100 times gravity is a bad idea. Yeah. If you're in the IBO world, though, you want to live on Earth because everything's nice on Earth and there's very little conflict except for the ones, created by people from outside Earth. He was also a giant monkey person. Just because the tail got ripped off doesn't mean he can't become a giant monkey anymore. We all saw GX. So he got his tail back in GX, didn't he? Anyway. Or was it GT? Yeah, I think it was GT. I think GX is Gundam X. God, it's destroying my brain. Yeah, weirdly enough, Captain Xeon is a thing in the IBO game. Or at least in my game. In other people's, it's mostly just a meme, probably. But Captain Xeon exists, but he helps out Galahorn. Except for halfway through the first season, he starts helping the downtrodden, then eventually starts moving to fight bad guys with Galahorn. But he's there, damn it. And he makes a ton of money for people, even though they illegally download and play his reruns. Because Bandai stopped existing during the Calamity War because they really didn't have a purpose once all the oil dried up. So now Captain Xeon's a thing. But you can get underground merch and occasionally the Gunpla kit. Or you can get his commemorative t-shirt or his first comic, which is worth 3,500 credits, which is a lot of money. That's also in the mystery box. You can get the first issue of Captain Xeon, The Greatest Adventures. Yeah, that's mostly what I worked on today. Well, not today, but over the past week or so. Yeah, this is what I did today. When I should have been doing other stuff. I just pulled stuff from over here and then moved it over to here and pretended like I made it. It was very interesting. But if you guys want to see it, it's all linked on the Discord. Oh yeah, if you roll a certain point on one of the rolling tables for the Nomads, you can learn your love of sand. Oh, it's right here. Yeah, you become desert born. You're raised by it, you're molded by it, and how rough and coarse it is. I mean, like, you don't really get a choice. You get to love the sand. Seriously, though, like, Crossfire put a ton of work into these things. Like, it's kind of crazy. Uh, the colonies on... The colonies in IBO are the same size that they are in, UC. The only ones that don't have an IBO are the closed colonies, kind of like Side 3 is. So theoretically, there's even more colonies for you to drop on the planet. And less people for you to expect it. I don't think they show Dort, do they? Like the actual colony of Dort? Nah, they don't. Or at least there's not a thing for it. But, yeah, they don't have any pictures, sadly. But they have O'Neill cylinders there, too. Yeah, there's full-on O'Neill cylinders in the colonies around Earth, which they're a lot closer to Earth than they were in UC. Though, then again, if you dropped any colony that size on the planet, it would literally destroy the atmosphere and kill everyone, so... Whichever you choose. I mean, you could also drop them on Mars. It would be probably about as deadly, but there would be less people to hit, so it wouldn't be as efficient. Though, that being said, you'd have to travel a lot further away to do it, so you'd probably get stopped by then. I'm curious as to what they would use to stop it, because they didn't have lasers. So, like, they would clear out the enemies and systematically blow chunks off if they couldn't turn the engines around. Yeah. Like, legitimately, he created all of these salvage or roll tables in like a day. It was crazy. But I'm gonna take credit for it because I did a good job, right? I haven't even read through like half of these. I like it. Oh yeah, Aerolith did Nomads, didn't you? I forgot. I'm taking credit for that too. There was a colony drop in Seed, but it isn't as efficient just because the cylinder or the hourglass colonies weren't as like dense as they were in IB or in UC. They weighed like a quarter or something like that, but you know, the colony or the plants were weird in Seed. But June 7 gets dropped to the planet. That does happen. Oh, it's actually spelled out 7. Oh, they destroy Roman Athens because, you know, screw the Romans and the Greeks. But of course, they were stopped in that thing that happened off screen. I mean, in, you know, Seed. Or, Asteroid. In Seed. But that's most of Seed, like, you know, Kira's life getting saved off screen because, you know, we have to sell them manga. But yeah, somebody did the math a little while ago. And if you were to drop even one colony on Earth, you'd create something like an 8-mile deep hole in the ground and probably cover the atmosphere in about 10 to 12 feet of dust through the entire planet. And everyone would die. Like, I honestly would hate a longer Stargazer anime. Like, Stargazer did exactly what it should have done, and they would only be able to expand it out, and it would be horrible. Um, there was that one coordinator guy. I want to say Gene Curry. Like, he needs an anime. Like, that dude was badass. Not. Yeah, this guy, G. Carey. That's it. So basically, he works for Zaft, right? Realizes how stupid it is, defects over to the Federation, does like a shitload for the Federation, and then like very much at the end just goes, "No, I'm done with war. I'm gonna leave." Oop, that went down the wrong hole. Fuck. Yeah, he was my inspiration for my favorite tabletop UC character, James. You know, just defect to every side or defect from every side. Everyone will hate you eventually, but it's fine, right? There was a Korean soldier in World War II who fought for every side, including the Nazis. I forget his name, but he like became a prisoner. Or he was Korean, so he was forced to fight for the Japanese. Got captured by the Soviets, moved over to the Western Front for cheap labor. Gets captured by the Nazis, becomes a soldier for the Nazis. Gets captured again, joins the Soviets, and fights for the Soviets for a while before moving to America. That was the thing. I just can't remember his name. But yeah, a character I ran in a UC campaign, and I've talked about it a little bit, was like he started as a Xeon pilot, But then when Xeon started to lose, he stole a Dom and defected to the Federation. Stayed with the Federation for a while before joining the Titans. After the Titans started to lose, he defected to the AUG. After the AUG started to lose, he defects over to Axis. He then defects from Axis back to the Federation before getting thrown in prison. And then he gets broken out of prison by a bunch of pirates and becomes a minor pirate lord before dying. But I died off screen because I had to leave and go do something. I had to do something in real life, so it happened off screen, and my new character came in, and then the session after we ended because one dude had a hissy fit and left, and then the other one, his character died and decided he didn't want to play anymore, which is cool. So, pirates in UC are kind of special in the fact that all they do is blow stuff up. They don't really try beyond that. They don't actually act as pirates. But you got to remember that the Federation might have the Earth sphere under lock, but anytime you get out into space, they just don't care. Like, the Titans were kind of there, but if you're not within about 100 miles of any of their fortresses or anything like that, they don't send out patrols, they don't do anything. They leave that up to the colonial militias, which are generally using old, outdated equipment. So if you have a couple of mobile suits, even some Zaku's and some trained pilots, you can generally outmaneuver a self-defense force or a militia or anything like that. So you can go and grab ships, and then you offload them at other colonies, usually Side 3, or sell them directly to Anaheim. But there's also a concept of you would move in, steal mobile suits from the colonial divisions or anything, or go raid old storehouses and recapture Xeon equipment. Then turn around and give that to Anaheim for Anaheim to resell back to Xeon remnants for it to get captured by the Federation for you to do again. And just kind of as a roundabout way of making money. So there's a couple of ways you can make pirates work. But the pirates we all see in UC just don't act like pirates. All they do is blow shit up. What fun is that? Like, I mean, it's fun for the person, but they just blow shit up, man. Though I will say, Echo de Ciel annoys the crap out of me, because there's literally a character who goes, "Why did you steal that new Federation prototype?" It happens in, I want to say, chapter 16, when she becomes a pirate for like 2 episodes, or 2 chapters. She, like, the captain flat out tells her why they stole an elite Federation prototype, captured the pilot too, and then they turn around and ditch it. Like, I get that it's hot, but fucking hell, dude, you're pirates. Turn around and sell this to somebody. That's how it works. The Flanagan Institute didn't have anything to do with exam. All the exam information got torched by Nimbus. And what was left was taken by the doctor, I can't remember his name, over to the Federation, which was also destroyed by Nimbus. Technically, Flanagan might have had parts in the Hades program, but I refuse to acknowledge that Hades exists, just for my hatred of side stories. There is literally no character in side stories that makes sense. Well, except for the son. But he is just a kind of side effect. Like, the fact that he was born when his dad was 6 isn't important. His dad was also a Federation spy in Xeon about the time of the Munzo Rebellion. Which doesn't really make sense. But I have before had an 18-minute complaint session about missing links, and I'll probably have one again when I play it again, but it's lame, damn it. Fucking hell, even if you read the manga, the Slave Wraith even has like everything, all the best advanced tech in UC in October before it was even developed. So stupid. The closest thing is Nitro, which is sort of canon. We haven't been confirmed one way or the other, but people say that the UC game is canon. Yes, the Gundam Katana is awesome and retarded at the same time. Though it has the Domel in it, so I like it. Domel is best suit. It has knives on the feet and it punches people. It's from one of the fighting games from the Memi? Yeah, it's from the fighting game. It's the coolest thing ever. Yeah, it literally squares off with an at guy at one point. So True Federal, who is the opposite side from Katana in Katana. Yeah, True Federal, who are basically an anti-rebel faction. Have the Domel. They have a GPO too. They have a bunch of other stuff they shouldn't have. This is chapter 35 or 34. It says it down in the bottom left. But yeah, the True Federal is crazy. But I like the Domel. The Domel's cool. So in the actual canon way the Domel gets defeated is it flies up to Amuro to try to punch it. Amuro pulls out its beam saber, fires close range into the thing's face, and absolutely kills the pilot. It literally gets fuck you'd. We Are Federation Hooligans. Still a really good book if you're not expecting anything serious. It's very interesting. Oh, True Federal doesn't care. True Federal has all the things. Oh, I didn't know that was... I didn't know there was a Domel knockoff there. This is the one with the AI Gundam from the 1 Year War. But yeah, I really like We Are Federation Hooligans too. It's a real good one. Yeah, True Federal. Oh yeah, they have a Blue Destiny, they have the Alex, they have a GPO2, they have the Domel, they have the GM Juggler, which has balls strapped to its arm. They even have a mass production Big Zom, apparently. That one I didn't remember. Yeah, so they mass produced Big Zom. They also apparently used Ogos. The fuck? So they're one of the bigger factions in the Federation. They absolutely hate Rebel, even though he's already dead, and everything Rebel goes by. But they just have support from everywhere, basically. It's not serious, and you really shouldn't consider it canon, but it's a fun and interesting read, at least. You put the exam system into a ball, and then you still die because you're in a ball. Yeah, I'm waiting for them to redo the Alex. Just even better art would be nice. It's like I kind of like it, but it's still like the thick outlines and kind of janky, and the proportions all weird. One day, though. One day. I really need to buy the MS Complete archive and do better scans, because this is grainy as fuck and I hate it. Oh. It doesn't say where this is from. If this one's from Elite Ace, I actually have that book, but I don't remember seeing the Alex in it, so I might rescan that. Plot to Assassinate Garen is also really good. I really like it myself. And if you're actually looking for a serious story, I do, and you haven't read it yet, I do suggest watching it. It's an investigator trying to figure out a coup attempt on Side 3 right around the time of IBO coup. The Alex was actually developed before the Mudrak was. Weirdly enough, it was developed around about the time they were making the 4 and 5. Plot to Assassinate Garen. It's technically not canon because it hasn't been animated, but that could be said for a lot of things, i.e., everything that hasn't been animated is not considered canon. Though 0081 is considered canon because there's an OVA for it. But it builds a lot on what Side 3 was. Not what it is, what it was. Before all of the Xeon stuff and a little bit after, you see the politics of what created it. And I really do enjoy it. Plus, it's only like 30 chapters or something. You can probably whip through it in a couple of days. I I honestly don't think they'll animate Char's Deleted Affair. There's a lot of stuff in there that Bandai would not do, and if they did animate it, they would change a lot of it. So Hamon's motivation for one would be completely removed, because like they can get away with that with Marita and not with the main character though. Then again, they did do the McGillis stuff, so maybe. God, I love the Domal. Just gets absolutely crushed. Just one shot to the head and it's dead. Uh, Garma never got enough kills to get a name. Or to get an ace thing. Yeah, he got something like 3 kills or something before getting killed. Moniker, that's the correct word. My favorite is still Johnny Ridden, or the... Not the Crimson... Yeah, what was it? The Crimson Lightning Char Aznable? I mean Johnny Ridden. Yeah, Char Aznable. That was always fun. I was, so years and years and years and years ago, and by that I mean like almost a decade, being 2012. God, I feel old. I created a mobile game for a college class I was taking. Not a mobile game, a text game for a college class I was taking, where you played as a survivor of Aboa Coup, 2 weeks after the end of Aboa Coup, where you either had to decide if you wanted to go join Delaz's fleet, because he was getting them together, or go run off to Axis with your friends. The Delaz fleet one, you had to collect a bunch of mobile suits and weapons and stuff to get allowed to join Delaz's fleet, whereas the Axis one, you just had to get 60 units of food to eat to the end. Yeah, so I created. God, where was I? Yeah, so Axis only made you collect enough food to get there, and then they would take almost anyone in. You needed like 10 victory points versus Dolaz, who needed 30. And you would go through events depending on the suits you had, and you could take certain options. There wasn't really a combat system, it was literally just, do you have this? You can take this option. This option will generally be better, kind of thing. Or you could just hope that not take one of those options and hope that the 50-50% outcome is good and in your favor. And one of the things in there I had is you could recover the Domal, but because you don't know what it was and there's no data on it, you're just like, oh wow, this thing's weird. And there's a point in the story where you could run into the Caliverse, which is the ship from Crossrays and all the SD Gundam games, where you could give them 10 food to repair it, and then they would just kind of completely rebuild it and be like, wow, we didn't know what this thing was, but we found the data on it, so you're good now. Have fun. And like literally every event afterwards, you could crush with the Domel. You could also capture Gundam if you wanted to. There was this weird crazy man you'd meet on a destroyed Columbus who would be yelling about his Gundam, and you could either talk to him and there was a 25% chance you'd get to see his Gundam, or you could kill him and try to steal it and then there was a 10% chance you'd take it, but 90% of the time you would find out that his Gundam was literally a plastic doll or a like tin and plastic doll he had that was shaped like the Gundam that you killed a crazy man over a doll. But I don't have that game anymore. I lost it in a fire a couple of years back, which kind of sucked. A draw C would win because a ball has 5 shots and low maneuverability. Balls are coffins. Draw C's are Zaku 2 frames without legs. So, I have read all of MSVR. I'm really hoping that they put out another volume. I think they are next year, but not this year, which makes me sad. But I'm really hoping to get to the end soon. Though that being said, Johnny Ridden, the cyber new type girl, is kind of lame. I'm all about Greenwood though. She's like best character so far. But yeah, when I was talking about that game I had made, I actually started writing out the scenario if I was going to run it as a tabletop. I was really excited to do it, and I might do it once IBO's over, or if we ever take a lull from IBO. I think it would be fun. You know, just a 10 scenario kind of thing. 10 sessions real quick. Run through it, see who dies, see if you survive and get to the end. You know, give you the chance to capture the Gundam and Xeonify a Gundam. Or, you know, capture Gundam and then give it over to the Law's fleet so that they could use a Gundam. Fun stuff like that. Oh yeah, during the final battle of Abu, well, yeah, literally the final battle of it even. He got into the full bullet. Zaku got his ass kicked by a Federation pilot. I forget who it was. It was one of the characters from the manga, I think. And he kind of gets a little bit of loss of oxygen, and so he loses his memory and takes over that guy's name, which was Wed Leyland or something like that. Led Wayland. Yeah, that's it. And so he becomes a Federation pilot for up till about CCA, like a year before CCA, where he starts testing old One-Year War mobile suits and suddenly finds out while piloting a Galf when they get attacked by bandits or like Xeon remnants that weirdly enough he can pilot a Xeon mobile suit really easily, and he doesn't quite know why. And so he goes on a journey to uncover where the zombie gold is, where a mobile suit production facility is, and then it just kind of stops. There's also a new type who pretends to be Johnny Ridden and pilots a psycho or a full armor Gundam with a psycho frame. That is a thing. Char was originally going to get something called a Kikaroga, which was the original Zeong. But imagine a Garibaldi mixed with a Zeong. Like it had movable parts, but it also had a beam saber and beam rifle and everything. And I think it was actually closer in size to the Gundam than the Zeong was. I really wanted to see that. But we'll never get to see that because the original series was cut short by 7 episodes, so they had to go full tilt on that new type stuff. Which, fun fact, Zeta didn't come immediately after 0079. In fact, Tomino threw it away as a failed project because it didn't really do well at the time. But they found when watching reruns, a bunch of teenagers loved it because it was all melodramatic and crap. So they developed Zeta for teenagers and did really well. And then, you know, Tomino finally saw a psychologist between Zeta and Double Zeta and started taking antidepressants, got really good and happy with his life, and then got to about halfway through Double Zeta and then left to do CCA. So they let other writers do Double Zeta, so they had to remove Char from that. That's why we get the weirdness that is CCA. But CCA was pretty good as well. I thought Idleon was right before 0079. Or was it after? Um, I know people say that the full Zeong, or the complete Zeong would have been stronger than the Gundam, but I honestly don't think so. I think him not being able to fly and not being able to move around, Amuro would have actually screwed him over, and that the legs would actually weakened him and kept him closer to the planet and made it easier. Because remember, Amuro just had to go for one shot in the head and destroy the head, and then Char was dead. So I think the increased mobility of the Zeong actually saved him more than costed him. But yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna head to bed. Well, take a nap. I really can't go to bed or it'll screw up my sleep schedule. But I think I'm gonna take a nap for a couple of hours, so I will see you guys all later. I will probably be playing some more Gundam vs. Zeta Gundam this weekend. Assuming I got this to work, that should be fine. Probably either Saturday or Sunday. I might even pull out the PS3 and play some either cross stories, missing links, whatever you want to call it, side stories. That's it, or maybe some Dynasty Warriors Gundam. I've had that for a couple of days. I just haven't touched it. Anyway, though, night, guys.